We're a minute early, so we'll wait a second before we really get going. But thanks everybody for waking up and spending your Saturday with us.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween! Oh my God, 2020 has been such a mess. Like I forgot it was Halloween, and now I'm excited.
The only reason I remembered is because I'm like making it a point like to keep track of Animal Crossing. So
I was gonna say, and your outfit is very on theme too. So
yeah, I tried to be spoopy and natural at the same time.
I love it. Spooky nature. Okay, so it's 8:15 or 11:15 for Avina. So let's get the ball rolling. Avina, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone. My name is Avina. I use they them pronouns. I have been like dressing in Natural-Kei for like 8-ish years. And I first fell in love with it because I was Googling a completely different thing and I found their wild, like Pink House's wild Kewpie prints. And it was just that, like, the rest is history. I got super into just Pink House style because I needed to know why they had these wild prints.
Yeah, my origin story is pretty similar to Avina's. Hi, my name is Purestmaiden or Simone. I use she, her pronouns, and I think we actually got into Natural-Kei around the same time.
So true.
And I started getting really into Pink House because I was like trying to buy like some accessories or like something super generic, and I saw these like just completely wild like pineapple prints, and I was like, why is this brand that makes $800 dresses like shilling these pineapple prints? I've got to know more. And the rest is history. So yeah, so today we're gonna take you guys through a little guide to Natural-Kei. If you can please hold questions till the end, just because that way it'll help us get through this a little bit faster. And then we'll be sure to leave lots of time to answer any questions that anybody might have towards the end. So Avina, do you want to run everybody through what to expect?
Yeah, sure. So like I feel like a lot of folks who are interested in Natural-Kei might have been interested in other J fashion styles first, like especially Lolita. And right off the bat, like Natural-Kei is like really nothing like Lolita. There's no structured community. In fact, the term Natural-Kei doesn't even describe the style that we're going to be talking about today. It's purely a Western fabricated term. Natural-Kei is actually, like, in Japan would describe like a very toned down kind of everyday style that wouldn't really stand out at all.
Kind of browns and grays, like very plain, like
yeah,
little like crunchy granola.
And there's no rigidity. There's like really no like rule book for this, but because it's like really brand influenced, you're going to see a lot of the same silhouette because there's like a certain family of brands that really influence the style.
So yeah, and then the other thing to expect that I think is a bit shocking for people who like first start getting interested in Pink House and the associated brands is the price point. You know, especially if you're coming from Lolita, there's some real sticker shock. Like to put together an outfit, you know, usually it's like you'll have a dress, a skirt layered under it, a blouse, a jacket, and you know the dresses are $300 each. The blouses are $350. Your jacket is going to be $500. The detailed skirts can run up to $800 or $900. So it can seem a little intimidating, but fortunately, there's like no need to buy anything new in this fashion whatsoever. The only advantages to buying new are like very small. There's, you know, the prices are high because there's a lot of extremely detailed heirloom quality workmanship. If you're buying new, it's easier to get like weird sought after motifs, and you have a lot more options for accessories because those tend to be, you know, items that people buy and then hold on to. So they're less common secondhand. But if you're buying used, you're getting the exact same materials and workmanship. Most main pieces are like $50 or less. Like the dress that I'm wearing right now, I bought in a lot with 5 other dresses for $120. And popular motifs like fruits and flowers get reused time and time and time again. Like they put out at least like 5 flower prints every year, and you know, at least 2 or 3 strawberries. And scalping is super uncommon. for some of the more uncommon motifs, like there's this like really ugly wine series that I'm kind of obsessed with, and it always goes for like retail or a little above, but it's not like AP, the dress just came out and it's going for triple the price or whatever. So
Yeah, you won't see a lot of that. And sometimes you do see a lot of people who like clearly bought something straight off the web shop and probably immediately listed it, maybe because they didn't like it, on sale, brand new with tags. And they usually start those auctions significantly under retail, and they get bid up to like right under retail or right at retail when the auction ends. So like you don't see a lot of scalping in Pink House.
yeah. So I think I would say I like looking at Pink House's Instagram and web shop because they give like a lot of cute coordination ideas. Like on the picture on the left-hand side with the lavender coordinate is like a picture from their shop blog. And I think like, oh, this is cute. This is a nice way I could put some items together. But like instead of paying, $2,000 for that whole outfit, I'm going to go buy those pieces used and pay like $200. So yeah.
Yep, it is what it is. Oh, and before I go to the next slide, I just want to the white dress is one of, I think it was a Kaneko Isao wedding dress. And I mean, they're already I think they're made to order and you had to have gone into the stores to order them like through a catalog or something. They're wedding dresses, so they're exorbitantly priced. And I saw one go secondhand for I think $4,000. And it is what it is. And, it's hard to see in this particular picture because it's a little bit on the smaller side, but there's most of the skirt is covered with these tiny little pin tucks. There's just so much detail in this piece, but I literally have those photos saved just to kind of drool over them. They're so beautiful.
I thought you would enjoy that one.
Yeah, I love it.
And so the other great thing about Natural-Kei, in Lolita, trends are very obvious. There's a cycle to the fashion. There's a difference between the Lolita that came out 20 years ago and the Lolita that's coming out today. Natural-Kei, nothing like it. Trends, never heard of them. The pieces from the 80s and 90s fit just as easily into the fashion as modern pieces. There are some different, I think the more casual pieces, wouldn't you say, tend to align more with current trends, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's not a deal breaker, I feel like you're better. I just buy used stuff. I don't keep up with the trends. So.
Yeah, I feel like Pink House definitely has done these things that a lot of trend following or trend creating brands tend to do. They collaborated in this photo with an idol group. They have recently been doing, I think, yearly collaborations with Misako Aoki and Arinka, two pretty popular.
They're doing it seasonally now, I think.
Is it seasonally? So they're doing it pretty often now. And they're collabing with pretty popular models. They did a Sailor Moon collaboration for Sailor Moon's, I think, 25th anniversary. So they do some things that are very in the now. And you will see that the way those particular things are styled are suited more to the person they had collaborated with. But by no means are they saying that's the only way to wear the style or that's how the style is going to look going forward. It's just a fun little collaboration that they did in the middle of all of kind of the usual stuff they always do.
Yeah. So, and I think the other thing that I would add to that too is the only difference I think in trends is that motifs often tend to match up with motifs that are popular in more mainstream fashion. So they did a rabbit and marine themed series this past summer. Or in the 90s, their big thing was fucking pineapples for some reason. There were, as Avina mentioned earlier, there was the QB trend. So sometimes the motifs tend to match up to popular trends, but the cuts are pretty static. So yeah. So the history of Pink House, I'm just gonna whip through this really fast. Pink House was actually originally founded in the 1960s under a Japanese company called the Biggie Group, and they were part of what was known as the DC or designer and character brand boom, which was this phase in Japanese fashion history where smaller designers became more popular, and fashion was being driven by these boutique, small boutique designers. the brand was like reformed under a different parent company in 1982, and that's what Pink House counts as its start date. But it didn't really get popular until the mid 80s, early 1990s. And it was super heavily promoted alongside Olive magazine. And it was originally very popular with high school students and young women. And apparently this was like the trend that like everybody was wearing, and people were just like doing like full, you know, they would save up for months to do their full little head to toe Pink House looks. And then as the people who were into it in high school got older, it kind of got known, like, I remember when I started the lead, I don't know if you remember this, Avina, but it was like kind of known as like a brand for like aunties.
Yeah, it totally was an auntie brand.
Yeah, like I feel like until like probably the last 5 years, it was like pretty much an auntie brand. And then in the last like 5 or 6 years, they did a diffusion line called Pink House Chelsea, which is like a slightly lower price point. And it puts like a Pink House twist on like, I would say like alarm style almost. And then they've also done like celeb collabs, like the Idol collaboration with, who was that? That was Momohiro Clover Z, right?
I think so. I don't follow idols.
I never neither. I'm like, The only reason I remember it is because of the Clovers. And then they also did, and they've been doing these super popular collaborations with Lolita models, Misako and Erinko. And they've also been collaborating with some of the Alarm models and some of the other popular Lolita figures out there to promote their clothes. So.
They also did like a Tokyo Bopper collaboration for shoes, and that's like very on the nose in terms of like appealing to youth. They wanted to, like, Tokyo Bopper is like the shoe if you're dressing in like street style. So the fact that Pink House did a collaboration with them has been like a pretty evident sign that I think Pink House is gaining popularity with the younger crowd again.
Yeah. Oh man, that collab was curse my big feet.
Oh, I know, it's so cute.
I think they're still up on the site, Kelp. So Vina, we want to talk to you a little bit about like the range of Pink House styles. Like it's not just a static, you know, one and done thing. Avina, do you want to maybe walk everybody through like the levels?
Sure. So I tried to like find street snaps, which also is hard because of this whole like there's no real community for Pink House. It's hard to find a lot of like Pink House in the wild. But I found these 3 street snaps that I felt like were a really good example of like Pink House and like increasing intensity. So like we've got what's on the far left, a really lovely, like pretty toned down coordinate. It's really just a Pink House jumper skirt with like paired with it's actually just like a dime a dozen like oversized unisex sweater with like a fun detachable collar, a really cute little bear pochette, no headgear, no real like standout jewelry, just like a fun casual outfit that's using Pink House pieces. The center outfit is like a little bit more involved. There's more layering. She's unbuttoned the dress that she's wearing so you can see the skirt underneath. She's paired it with a lot of Mary Jenny. And we're going to go into Mary Jenny a bit later. They're like a pretty popular, I want to say like, they're not quite fast fashion, but they are like a lower price point and they do tend to have more stock. But they're a brand that's really popular to be mixed with Pink House these days. She like wore a cute little tiara in her hair, which like I just thought was like a really fun, like neat touch. And then on the far right, we've got someone who's unfortunately she's only ever photographed with her friend. So like as cool and amazing as her friend looks, she's not really an example of what we're talking about today. But on the far right, we've got this like she's like 16, so she's like very young. And she's wearing like head to toe Pink House, lots of layers. I think she's wearing 3 blouses and like I see at least 2 skirts or like dresses going on. There might even be 3. And she's created like this very layered look that's like more reminiscent of how Pink House looks like in like runway fashion shows. And I guess like for lack of a better term, it's like kind of the most over the top the style can kind of get.
Yeah, like you can, just like with Lolita, there's like, casual Lolita and OTT, like it's a spectrum. Pink House is the same. It can be as simple as, like a lot of the time if I'm wearing it, it's like I'll put like a a turtleneck and some leggings on and slap a dress over it and call it a day. Whereas Avina, tends to do more like ornate layered looks with like delicate bloomers and lots of skirts and 3 blouses. And so there's a range. You don't have to be, it's not strictly over the top or nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize this was here.
Oh, that was the one I was talking about. Oh my God, incredible. So this I think is an illustrative example of like the difference between kind of our Pink House styles. I'm standing in the back. And we're actually wearing the same dress in this picture too. But like I'm wearing just, my hair accessory is just a little bandana. I'm wearing a cardigan from Lazy Oaf over a Pink House dress, and then layered under the dress, I just have some leggings, and I'm wearing some simple Doc Marten boots, and I have like a little Kewpie brooch to match the Kewpie motif on the dress. And then in contrast, Avina has like a Pink House jacket and a cute little turtleneck layered under their dress with some adorable lace bloomers, and then the Mary Jenny sneakers that have like big bow ties on them. So even within like the same pieces, you can still get a little bit of a range of how the fashion looks.
Oh my God. Oh, and I also want to note that Simone unbuttoned her dress most of the way and was like wearing some cute like plain leggings underneath, whereas like I kept mine buttoned up because those bloomers have ripped.
Oh, so you feel like I was the opposite. I'm about 6 inches. I'm about like 4 or 5 inches taller than Avina, and my legs are like long enough that it's hard for me to walk in Pink House sometimes. So gotta keep it loose. So also this is in answer to where this is at Disney World right before quarantine.
Yeah, this was like the end of January, the very beginning of February. Rest in peace.
Our last trip.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Good to go to the next slide.
Yeah, we're good to go. So Pink House, as Avina mentioned at the outset, is Natural-Kei is often, a lot of the trends come from brands. It's not the type of fashion where there's community-driven trends or there is a central publication that drives trends. The trends are what Pink House is putting out mostly. And so Pink House has kind of a few associated brands. In Japan, it's generally known as Natural-Kei, which is named for Kaneko Esau, the gentleman on the side of the slide here, and he was the original designer of the brand who created Pink House. And they have a couple of spin-off brands. There's Pink House Chelsea, which is, as I mentioned, kind of a lower-priced casual diffusion line. Pink House Brocante, what is that? I still haven't figured it out.
They kind of exclusively work in canvas, I've realized. They make a lot of canvas totes, canvas skirts, and they usually do like a patch motif versus like an all-over print.
Okay.
And I get the feeling that Brocante is kind of supposed to be the like heavier wearing, like everyday line. And it also is kind of on the cheaper end.
Okay, nice. And then Baby Pink House is, it is not a cute Pink House line with different items. Like I thought when I accidentally bought a Baby Pink House item once, it is Pink House for babies.
Literal baby Pink House.
And I think the Baby Pink House line has been retired, but you can still find it really easily secondhand. So when you are purchasing secondhand, don't buy Baby Pink House. Don't be me.
And they're pretty blunt about when it's Baby Pink House. So like you'll see like 2 nearly identical dresses, but one will literally say Baby Pink House like somewhere on it. That's probably actually baby or toddler sized. So don't accidentally buy Baby Pink House. I've done it before too. I bought a pair of overalls and I literally used them as like a weird shirt because
I love this.
It was
my God.
small.
But be careful because sometimes they'll put the Baby Pink House label like on random. Like I have a jacket that's like normal adult size that says Baby Pink House on the back. So
maybe they went up to teen sizes. I have no idea.
No, it's the same size as my adult jackets.
That's weird.
Anyways, Pink House. I'm also sorry, Jordana, that it is not Pink House Picante. I would love a spicy Pink House line where everything was pepper motifs, but
Ooh.
it's not to be.
I'm pretty sure that they have like a saucy chili pepper print somewhere at some point.
No, but well, we'll get it. There is a brand that did.
Oh,
So, and then outside of the main Pink House brand, there's also Ingeborg, which is like, how did you describe it? Like politician wife suits.
yeah. So like I'm actually wearing some really old Ingeborg now. And like my old Ingeborg basically looks like Pink House with no prints. So like lots of like emphasis on like pin tucks and crochet and like textures. But the prints like are either much like larger graphic prints or none whatsoever. But like recent Ingeborg really has like felt like wealthy like socialite mother, politician's wife, like 2-piece 3-piece suits with like a really fancy tweed. That's like a lot of current Ingeborg, or like kind of like wealthy vacationer.
Yeah. So, and then Carl Helmet is Pink House, but for your boyfriend. And like they do a lot of prints and motifs that coordinate with the mainline Pink House pieces. So, you know, if you like are really into couple coordinates, it's excellent, but not if your partner is 6 foot tall and Western sized, unfortunately, as I have found out the hard way. But
yeah, they tend to focus on like masculine cuts, lots of like button down like polos and like short sleeved shirts and Letterman jackets. And I want to say they made like cargo pants at one point, like in the 90s, not so much
recently.
I've seen wallets from Carl Helmet. They tend to just focus on like a kind of more masculine style.
And but also like I've bought stuff from them. Like it's most of the cuts like are pretty unisex, and oftentimes Carl Helmet stuff is a little bit cheaper too. So it's an option, and especially if you're a little broader of shoulder or longer of leggy. So these last two, Wonderful World and Kaneko Isao, were two of Isao's, like he left Pink House in the late 90s and founded, I forget which was first, but Wonderful World and Kaneko Isao. And they're basically like Pink House, but honestly, I think with weirder prints.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe them?
Wonderful World had like an obsession with teddy bears that like Pink House only like just scratched the surface of. Like most Wonderful World prints, I feel like had like teddy bears on them.
I feel like Kaneko Isao just really had like some batshit prints. Like there is a kangaroo print, there is a print that is like peas and like pea pods. A lot of like extremely ugly pineapple prints, like. And then after he closed both labels and came back to Pink House in the early 2000s sometime before retiring in 2014. So, yeah.
He's still kicking. He's alive.
Nice. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
For real.
Okay, so as I mentioned, Pink House was super duper duper popular in the 80s and 90s, and it spawned approximately 2 metric fuck tons of brands that were rushing to capitalize on the Natural-Kei trend. So these first half are like defunct brands that you can still, like if you're looking for used stuff, you can track them down. Nougat Sugar and its diffusion line Strawberry Field did a lot of like cute knit stuff. Atsuki and Nishi kind of, they have like half politician wife Ingeborg stuff, half completely batshit Pink House stuff, and their big focus was on knitwear. And also, fun fact about Atsuki and Nishi, that is where Baby the Stars Shine Bright, their owner, got their start doing work for Atsuki and Nishi. And their prints, I think, are a little more like fairy tale focused than Pink House's like florals and cute stuff. Rural Poem or Ideal was a brand in like the early 90s, and their style was like something that people called Kaneko Lolita, which was they took Pink House elements and they also incorporated some elements of Lolita fashion. Their stuff is like pretty hard to find now, but it's super cute. Street Organ was their sub brand that was like more straightforwardly Pink House. They are the brand that made some hot pepper items. And then when Rural Poem closed in the late 90s, they reformed with the Street Organ designer and made Garland, which was kind of like an indie Lolita brand that went on until about 2008. And then Kei is still around today. And they make how would you describe them? Just like really aggressively normie, right?
Yeah, like Kei is kind of like what happened to Grimoire. Like it's a lot of just like kind of nicer than normal clothes, but still very toned down.
Yeah, it's basic. But if you find some of their vintage stuff, it is very Pink Housey, and it's usually a lot cheaper because that people don't know the brand for being, a Natural-Kei brand. And so people are kind of trying to dump it for cheap. So, and then Meta is another brand that they used to make clothes that were like very good for Pink House. A lot of their old long jumper skirts and skirts especially are like perfect for Natural-Kei. But they don't, now they're mostly Lolita. But their old designer left and has her own brand called Physical Drop now. And a lot of Physical Drops pieces are very Natural-Kei workable, if not outright Natural-Kei. So, and then I know Catherine Cottage is one that you've like found some stuff from.
Yeah, Catherine Cottage is honestly just a kids brand. Like it's kind of like going to Oshkosh Bagosh for like your Pink House, but they have a lot of like really cute shoes and like blouses and stuff that I see worked into modern Pink House coordinates. They are cheaper because they are supposed to be like a kids brand. They're on Rakuten. I mean, I take it with a really, really big grain of salt. Like you really have to sift through Catherine Cottage because, like I said, I don't think they go higher than like a teen size. So
yeah, their biggest size, if you do want to find Catherine Cottage, their biggest size is 160. It's like a small Japanese medium. So like I would say it's comparable to like old, like unsure baby NAP from the early 2000s in terms of
it's
the
like
fit and
safely a
sizing.
size 2, I think, like a US 2.
Yeah, like if you're a 2 or lower, you'll be fine wearing it. So, and then Mary Jenny is another brand that is like they're more mainstream, right? But
yeah, they're more like trendy. Like I think they definitely know that they're appealing to the younger generation, but a lot of their prices are really reasonable and really high quality pieces for the cost. Their shoes are super comfortable. Highly recommend for anyone who can fit into them. But their pieces are also really oversized, so they're great if you aren't conventional Japanese sizing. Like a lot of their stuff goes up to like 120 centimeters. The measurements that they have on their website are usually accurate. So there's more flexibility with Mary Jenny, I think, than say Catherine Cottage.
And also just to kind of backtrack a little bit, somebody asked a question about sizing, and I do want to like briefly touch on this. Pink House itself, most of the dresses have a slightly oversized fit. Pretty oversized. Most of the dresses have a pretty oversized fit. There are fully shirred pieces out there. Most of the older skirts do have like very restrictive sizing, but you can find some flexible sizing pieces if you keep your eyes peeled, especially if you've got your eyes open for those like baggy, oversized fit type pieces. And then Mary Jenny, as Avina mentioned, also has a lot of like very flexible sizing pieces that are like flexible in sizing or that are really oversized. Since Natural-Kei is like meant to be worn a little bit loose, in general, pieces are not as restrictive in sizing as you might expect unless you're buying like 90s skirts. And then Favorite One is another brand. They're like a more recent Japanese brand. And they make a lot of their pieces like in multiple sizes, right?
Yeah, I think they actually go up to a 2 or 3XL. They go up pretty high.
Yeah. And a lot of their pieces have like elastic waists and elastic cuffs.
And I will say their sizing from experience tends to be more generous than they say. I bought like a 2XL item from them thinking it would be like a fairly snug fit, and it's huge on me. So that's just something to keep in mind when you look at their sizing guides.
Yeah. So, but first, I think to be like blunt too, the reality is a lot of Natural-Kei stuff is not made for, it's made for petite Japanese people. And a lot, because it's less popular, there's like not as much demand, like there's not as much perceived demand from the brand for larger sizes. So in general, I think, but I also would say these are just some suggestions for brands that you can use. Natural-Kei is a super easy fashion to shop vintage or off-brand, or even like hand make stuff with totally like minimal sewing skills. So we'll like discuss, stuff that you can look out for and like normal fashion too, so that you can build the wardrobe without like, going through 20 pages of stuff just to find one thing that fits.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a bit later too, but there's not as much preciousness about Pink House like there is about a lot of other J fashion brands. It's very common to go into the secondhand sales and see that people have like completely cut up a dress to like turn it into something else. So it's also like fairly common to like buy multiple Pink House pieces just to make something else out of it.
Okay. And so also we do want to get into some non-Japanese stores. I think Taobao is like the big one that you've like been using, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, I think because it's starting to kind of become trendier in like with younger people again, I'm seeing a lot of really popular brands for Lolita on Taobao definitely do like a take on Pink House. The two big ones are Surface Spell and Sweet Dreamer. Both have been consistently releasing some really lovely quality items that would not look out of place in a Pink House wardrobe. Like your button down JSKs and OPs, everything's like ankle length, lots of pin tucks. Like both of those brands have been doing a lot more of that. I've noticed with Sweet Dreamer, they tend to be a little bit shorter length. But Surface Spell, honestly, they do like full on ankle length. Fei Cafe is one that it's weird. They're like kind of going through like a brand change or like an image change, and they're like doing like historical Renaissance kind of stuff, but they do still have a lot of their like older Pink House stuff still for sale, and they literally say Kaneko Isao in their listings, and they know exactly what they're emulating. I have a few Fei pieces that look identical to like Pink House pieces. In fact, the photo on the right is one of their stock photos. So, Fei Cafe is a really good place to start, and the price point is lower because it is Taobao. But I do think you see drops in quality as a result, like lots more loose threads. I've had items that had like tailor's chalk on them that hadn't been washed off. Just like little things like that, little quality control things tend to pop up more often when you buy from Fei Cafe. Surface Spell and Sweet Dreamer charge a bit more than Fei Cafe does, and they don't have as many of those issues. So
their pricing is like standard Lolita brand pricing though, not like Pink House pricing.
Yeah. So it's still like a better alternative to Pink House if you want to buy something brand new. And I believe Surface Spell has kind of like backpedaled a bit on their sizing, but they do sell a lot of like fully shirred skirts. And Sweet Dreamer is actually like pretty good on the sizing front. And they also have a lot of fully shirred items. But Fei Cafe, I think, also goes up larger than Pink House does.
And then just to kind of whip through the rest of these really fast. So Le Flacon, Aurora and Ariel, and Nuit de Cellophane are primarily Lolita shops, but they do a lot of pieces like blouses and cardigans and even the straight dress that would work super well for Natural-Kei. Aurora and Ariel especially does these like super ornate and elaborate kind of like over the top like patchwork numbers that I would like love to see somebody do a Natural-Kei thing with. So, and then last, a Western brand on the lone little Western guy on our list is a company on Etsy called Rag and Bones. And they have like really inclusive sizing, gorgeous, simple pieces. And I think they're like a great example of somewhere that you can go, you can buy like some really quality, reasonably priced items And then you just like dress it up with a couple of like, you know, a big like colorful bandana and like a oversized sweater, and you've got the perfect Natural-Kei look. So if you don't, you know, if you don't want to shop, and they're also like a smaller ethical store. So if you're trying to support ethical fashion, they're another awesome option for that. So yeah.
Yep, they're great. They're made to order, and I think they try to use dead stock fabric for some of their things. So
yeah, I know some of their stuff is dead stock too. So yeah, support small businesses.
yeah.
And then secondhand options, I'm just gonna like go through these really quickly too, because I think most of these, if you're in Lolita or J Fashion, you are already very familiar with. Closet Child and Wonderwelt have recently started putting up some Pink House stuff. Closet Child, usually on the cheaper end. Wonderwelt, usually on their like whack-ass pricing bullshit, but whatever. Yahoo Japan, I feel like, is still my best place for finding Pink House. They have tons of stuff. It's super cheap, and there's actually like a dedicated Pink House category, so you don't even have to search. You can just like scroll through it and see what's new. Mercari and Frill are Japanese shopping apps. I find pieces on there, but I don't know. I think the prices aren't as good as Yahoo Japan. I don't know. Maybe that's
yeah,
fine.
the prices aren't as good, and you should probably engage with a shopping service who's like fairly fluent, because I've had some luck with having my shopping service haggle, but off the like listing price on a lot of Mercari and Frill auctions aren't great.
Yeah, and yeah, and I think the selection on Frill and Mercari isn't as good too. It's a lot of like big, expensive pieces. Yahoo Japan is like you can get your $20 blouse or whatever to pad out your wardrobe and build up your coordinates. And then Club Candy, you've bought from them. You've got to explain this because I do not understand them.
Yeah, so Club Candy is really bizarre. They started semi-recently doing a silent auction system. So basically, they will list like their update of like 60 items, let's say, and they're up for a few hours so people can kind of like go through and see what they like. Then they open up the silent auction, which means you can go and like add items you want to your cart, but you put in your suggested price for those items. So let's say you really like this piece, so you say you're going to pay 5,000 yen for it. And you check out, but you're not charged until the silent auction period ends. At the end of the silent auction, she'll go through and see how many people bid against one piece and pick the highest bidder, and they're the ones that get charged for the item. So let's say like Simone also added that same dress to her cart and said she wanted to pay 6,000 yen for it. She's a high bidder, she gets it. And I just like sadly look at my cart and like there's only one item left, and that's just how Club Candy works. The other side of Club Candy is once the silent auction period is over, it turns back into like a regular store that you can just purchase from. It'll be leftovers. So like a lot of times like there's not very cute items left, but I have seen like a lot of shoes go on there for really cheap, bags, jewelry. And she also has a Yahoo auction account where she lists these huge lots of like damaged pieces, and they're usually like very lightly damaged, and
it's like a stain that comes out with an OxyClean soak.
yeah, and like this dress was one of the things I bought from one of those Club Candy auctions on Yahoo Japan. It was a lot of like 6 other dresses from like Hetty and Ingeborg, and I got it for $120, and this dress was missing a button. That was like the main damage on it, and there's like some discoloration, and I only noticed the discoloration because I had my dress hanging up in like severe sunlight, and the UV was like picking up the fact that it was like kind of faded in some places. So like it's really Club Candy is a good follow, if only to like kind of see what things go for, what's popular, and to like kind of stock those Yahoo auction updates from her account.
Yeah. So and then on if you like, you know, I know I'm personally like trying to cut down on like buying stuff from overseas right now, or if like Japanese sizing doesn't work for you, like that's cool. There are like Etsy is honestly like a great place to get stuff, or anywhere else that you can find like vintage clothing. Any like thing that's like vintage and like prairie-ish from like the 70s through the 90s can work. And novelty cartons, I think, are like an especially great item to buy from non-Pink House brands. Like Lazy Oaf is one brand that I personally like to buy a lot of cardigans from. But Avina, I know hers or theirs is from a brand called Heirloom Collectibles that's like pretty plentiful on Etsy. But like any like, you know, my cardigan is just, it's like a sweater with some little like some very dumb looking little strawberries on it. You can even just buy a plain sweater and like dress it up with your own details. So you got a lot of options.
Okay.
So yeah, and now this to get kind of more into specifically how you can make off-brand, you know, work for Natural-Kei. These are Simone and Avina's tips.
So yeah, like try to stick to natural materials. Sometimes you will see some chiffon in like coming out of Pink House, but it tends to be like smaller items like an apron or like a smaller like over blouse sort of situation. You don't tend to see like main pieces made with synthetic materials. So when you're going off brand, it's great to just kind of look for like cotton or wool or linen. Those tend to be things that fit that like look more.
And you also, I think motif can be like an easy way to, like getting a good motif can be an easy way to make an off-brand item, like amp up a Pink House or Natural-Kei coordinate. You want to stick to floral prints, like, you know, any type of flower or a kind of kitschy, cute motif done in a vintage illustration style, like fruits, teddy bears, animals, or kind of some popular themes. You want to stay away from stuff that is like super cartoony, I think, because that tends to read as a little bit less Natural-Kei because the style is not meant to be larger than life and cartoonish.
Yep. And we do mention like avoiding like chiffon, batik, tie-dye prints, like that kind of, oops, did I freeze?
No, you're good. Oh, wait. No, are you there?
I feel like I'm frozen. Hold on.
Okay.
Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my image is frozen for whatever reason. We'll just continue if you can still hear me. But yeah, like just like a little too often, like a lot of like off-brand Natural-Kei can end up looking a little bit like more like 70s bohemian. So that's like kind of why I just said like avoid like batik, tie-dye, and that sort of like print style.
Yeah. And also you might try turning your camera off and then turning it back on again.
Oh, okay, let me try that.
And then another thing that you can do is prioritizing longer length items. There are some shorter length items in Natural-Kei, but I think especially when you're off brand, it's a lot easier to feel confident that you're getting the look if you stick with something that's, I would say, like mid-calf or a little bit longer. It's kind of my rule of thumb, but I know especially as you get taller, that gets harder. So this is like not hard and fast. And then, oh, are you still with us, Avina? Did I lose you?
Sorry, it looks like I'm fully frozen.
Okay, here, I'm gonna, oh, well, okay. Anyways, so while we wait for Avina to come back, you know, the last point is a good starting point for brands that you can, you know, just kind of like buy and go. Laura Ashley and from like the 90s, especially the floral and toile type stuff, and then Gunny Sacks, but specifically from like the 60s and 70s and not the 80s prom dresses, can be great. How about pants? So I'm going to just answer questions because Avina has the slideshow. Pants, I think, can totally be a part of Natural-Kei fashion. I personally actually incorporate a lot of pants into my Natural-Kei, and I think there's a lot of directions you can go with it. Pink House themselves released like a lot of like flared capri length pants, which like I have short legs. That's not my thing, but it's totally something you can do. I'm a fan of just like layering like skinny jeans and leggings under dresses. There's also lots of like bloomers and like really cute embellished jeans with adorable like lace trim on them that you can use as well. And I think pants look great. Either you can layer it under a dress or you can layer them with like a blouse and like a cute cardigan and like some cute shoes, and then get get the look. So, and okay, so any tips for telling the difference? I think, yeah. So I think Kelp's right. Our panel is more focused on Kaneko-Kei, and I think there is more of a difference between Kaneko-Kei and Mori. Mori tends to be, the color palette in Mori, first off, is more limited. You know, Pink House, the colors like pinks and reds and blues are more common. Mori tends to be greens and browns. Mori tends to focus on layered textured fabrics. Pink House, there's more of a focus on prints and kind of coordinating your outfit with like matching motifs and things like that. So in that respect, I would say Pink House, I think too, is more directly inspired by historical fashion. Whereas I think Mori is a little, I mean, it's more modern. There's like some historical elements like with lace, but overall it's not like, you know, Little House on the Prairie type look. And have I explored lag and look brands? No, what is it? Now I gotta Google, one sec. So I think, I feel like those would definitely be like, those are some brands I think that would definitely like work for Natural-Kei, like those simple kind of long pieces in natural materials would be a great basis for any Natural-Kei coordinates. So, but yeah, and as Kelp said, I think Natural-Kei is more understated. I am using Natural-Kei and Kaneko-Kei interchangeably, but they are not technically interchangeable. So, and Avina is Googling lag and look brands. So
I'm back and I got it. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I'm glad we got you back. So yeah, and I think the difference is definitely something that you can feel more than you can see. So but I think maybe also breaking down like what's in a coordinate can help kind of make the difference a little more stark. If you want to take it away.
Oh, so we're talking about casual versus like a less toned down coordinate, right?
Oh no, I was just answering some questions while you were going.
Oh, okay. I have like no idea where we're at. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So no, we'll just pick. I like just took a break. So let's kind of break down like what a coordinate looks like. You know, most Kaneko-Kei coordinates it's kind of like a blob silhouette, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You can do something more casual, like on the right, where it's just like, you know, a simple skirt with a Pink House vest over it, or you can do full like layered pattern mixing. And I think for most cords, you can dress up vintage, thrifted, or even like just straight up normie Uniqlo level items with a Pink House accessory or like, you know, an overdress or a cardigan, and you can call it a day. So, but yeah, I think, but I think overall, Avina's right. Like Avina's suggestion of please check out like wear.jp, which is like a Japanese lookbook kind of that's like very active. And if you check out the Pink House tag, you can see how people are coordinating Pink House, and you can get a better idea of, you know, the range of versatility.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of folks, Pink House is kind of an everyday wearing brand, and Wear is really good at spotlighting those sort of like toned down looks. Whereas, like, I mean, a peek behind the curtain, a lot of like your street snap magazines are absolutely trying to seek out people who are ready for the shot. Whereas like Wear is like your usual person just taking a quick mirror pic and uploading it online. So you get to see a lot more of like that sort of quote unquote unpolished, like everyday coordinate.
Yeah. So yeah. And so for building a wardrobe, honestly, it's pretty easy, especially, you know, I think people kind of look at it as being intimidating, especially if you come from Lolita, where it's like, you gotta get the petticoat and the dress and the matching socks and matching head accessories, and all of it has to be Lolita specific, and you can't use anything from your normie wardrobe. Building a Kaneko-Kei or Pink House wardrobe is not like that. You can get pretty far if you have like I think I'm trying to remember, like, what did you start your wardrobe with? Because I think mine is very pineapple-y.
I remember we split a couple lots, and some of the lots had like a lot of these cut-sew dresses with attached aprons. So all you had to do was just pull on one dress, and you already kind of had a look because the apron was just sewn into it. And if the weather got kind of warmer or cooler, I would like put like a cute chunky cardigan over it. And back then, I was just using like the same sort of chunky knits that like Baby or AP kind of put out. Oh, yep, there's one. That's a good example of something that like has the apron kind of attached to it. So like eventually when I realized like, oh, I'm wearing that a lot, I tried to seek out like a lot of very basic cotton pieces that button down the front, and I would just pair them with off-brand ankle length dresses to kind of get that cute like peeking ruffle look that's like so typical of Pink House. Oh, I can't hear you. Technical issues. No, now you're definitely muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, we've had so many technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah.
So I think my Pink House wardrobe like started off, it was like a generic maxi skirt I got from the Goodwill, a novelty cardigan that I already had in the back of my closet, 2 blouses from this lot that I split with Avina, and then like one dress that buttoned down the front. These are like, and especially if you need stuff that's like in larger sizing, you just need like a blouse or two, a long skirt, and then you can get like a big, Avina suggested like a big giant like scarf or bandana that you can like use as a shawl, or you can tie around your waist to create an additional layer. You can get a bomber jacket or cardigan from like anywhere as long as you think it's cute. You just get like, a couple floral corsage pins and like a little fun statement bag like this bunny over here. You're hot to trot.
Yeah, like I wear like my usakumias with Pink House all the time because it's just such a fun little like a little like cute bag to wear with your Pink House. And Mary Jenny makes this really amazing like super fat and adorable like bear bag with like a tiny head, and I see that all the time like being paired on like Wear JP and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so in terms of shoes and accessories, again, this is going to be a big departure from other J fashions. Like whatever shoes float your boat are totally fine. I know Avina is a big fan of Mary Jenny sneakers. I have giant Western feet, so I wear a lot of like Doc Martens and like little, clumpy boots. In terms of jewelry, I don't even wear jewelry.
I'm not wearing any jewelry right now either. I'm just wearing what I would normally be wearing on a day-to-day basis. So like my necklaces that I never take off, like that sort of thing. But
yeah, it's like jewelry is usually small and understated, but it could be whatever you want. I would just say like, if you would look at a necklace and think like maybe a middle school art teacher would wear that, that's probably not quite the, Pink House aesthetic. But if somebody should turn the IKEA bear into a backpack, because that would be perfect for Pink House.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cute.
And it's more common in terms of accessories, just use like floral corsages, and like you can get pretty far with like the Michaels faux floral section. Nothing fancy. So do you want to talk maybe more about hair and makeup? Because I'm a slop with that.
Yeah, like honestly, hair and makeup can be like, we keep saying this, it can be anything you want it to be. Like earlier we showed some photos of like some Tokyo fashion street snaps where one of the people snapped had like close cropped bleached blonde like pixie cut. Someone else had like lavender hair. Like there really isn't like a hard and fast rule of like what's like appropriate for Pink House style. I think generally when you're looking at like runway photos or stock photos, like the image on this slide, you do tend to see like very curly hair in natural hair colors. So like your blondes, your browns, your blacks.
Yeah, a lot of like waist length curly black wigs, and like the curl is more of like, I guess like not to toot my own horn, but it's like my hair. It's not like a heavily styled ringlet. It's just like a loose, very natural looking curl.
In fact, like I feel like I don't see straight hair very often in like the stock photos for Natural-Kei, but like obviously like a lot of people with straight hair wear the style and it's
It's
fine.
more common
Like,
in street snaps than it is in the runway photos, I think.
yeah, yeah. And also varying lengths are okay. Like I'm fairly certain these two models, one definitely has like a bunch of hair like beehived on top of her head, but the other one probably has like fairly short hair that's just been permed.
A Golden Girls cut is what we call it.
Yes, yes, the great Golden Girls haircut. And this also is kind of a nice photo for looking at like the flower corsages that are like more typical of Pink House.
Yeah. And in terms of like hair accessories, like, you know, Avina loves a good straw hat. I am a fan of like the little bandana worn as a headband. You can do a floral clip. You can leave it plain. Like whatever looks best to you is totally fine. It is not like a strict and fast rule or anything. So
yeah, like a lot of times I don't even wear anything in my hair.
I only have the bandana because otherwise my hair like gets in my mouth when I eat.
Yeah, like I just braid my hair or something, but I don't do anything fun. Like I've been trying to get like cuter like hair ties with like little bears on them. So like I've been tying off my braids with like a cuter hair tie, but
yeah. So and then, okay, so, and we're running low on time, so I think we're probably gonna move to questions, but we will upload the slides in the Facebook group and the Discord so that you can like have access to these links and search terms. It's like it's pretty straightforward. Like buying Pink House is not difficult. You just have to put a little bit of like time and effort in to find something that you like. And that's for a price that you wanna pay. That's it. You know, that's all there is to it. It's wearing Pink House is buying things you like and not paying too much for them. So, oh yeah, and last, there is not, because Pink House is not like a, you know, community, there is not the same stigma against handmade or remake items. So like these are some masks that Club Candy made by like taking apart old skirts and repurposing them. And you can see tons of stuff like this. Like masks have been hot right now, but I've seen like remade bags, seen skirts redone into aprons, like all kinds of things.
I've seen teddy bear clothes.
Oh my God, well, you bought teddy bear clothes.
I have bought cutesy teddy bear clothes.
So, and then, and I think in terms of main pieces, like, so I have like basically a second grade level sewing skill and I can make Natural-Kei pieces. You know, you just need some nice cotton and then you make a big rectangle that's twice the size of your waist in a cute print. And then you put a little elastic drawstring at the top and there you've got your Natural-Kei skirt. It's very doable. And in terms of blouses, I think if you look for like some 70s and 80s patterns that have like the little weird sailor collars and like weird ruffly details, that's perfect. If you're fancy, you can do like a couple pin tucks. I know like my sewing machine has like an heirloom stitch function that will like mimic some of the detailing that Pink House does. In terms of outers, if you can find a cardigan that's baggy that you like, that fits, you can dress it up by like, you know, crocheting some little fugly strawberries and popping them on. So, and then you can also make, you know, crochet lace collars and print bandanas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options for things that you can easily make with minimal sewing skill and like, you know, half an afternoon. And you will have some perfect pieces for Natural-Kei or for Kaneko-Kei. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, feedback, thoughts, insults, etc.?
No insults.
Well, for me, not for Avina. Avina's perfect, and you can't insult them. So
sandwich the criticism, like one nice thing, a mean thing, a nice
thing about Avina, mean thing about Simone, nice thing about Avina. So, insult, you're both lovely. Thank you. And also, Aria, I know you mentioned needing an heirloom stitch function. Just to plug my shitty Brother machine, I have a $100 Brother that came from Michael's that has an heirloom stitch function. If you look in your sewing machine manual, you might be surprised at what you find. And let's see. So it sounds like you could completely, oh, can we get a view of your hat, Avina?
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm trying to turn my head. It's like I tried to be spooky.
Spooky.
So, like, it's got like a little point and it ties under the chin.
I love it. So, and then Jessica mentioned, it sounds like you could completely do this look just from adapting thrift finds. Absolutely. And
Totally.
honestly, I want to see like I love seeing people get creative and mix in thrift finds. Please show me your thrift finds.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Like I definitely have like a lot of like weird skirts that have been like I think were made from like old quilts that I like found at a thrift store. And they work great because that like quilted floral look just fits right in.
Yeah, I think like I would just suggest like just flip through like Pink House's website, get a feel for what their clothes look like, and then go to the thrift store armed with that knowledge. So also insult pump dump. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, but yeah, if you wanted to make your own Natural-Kei clothing, where would be a good place to find fabric?
Honestly, I find a lot of really cute florals looking through eBay because a lot of folks are getting rid of like their old like vintage dead stock, and I found fairly large bolts of like some cute novelty like teddy bear floral kind of fabric on like eBay. And I mean, it's been a long time since I last walked into Joann's due to everything, but I remember Joann's having a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, and as for me, I'm with Avina. I am a big like Etsy, eBay troll. I personally think Etsy tends to have slightly higher prices. I think that's just because they charge higher fees. But I also think Etsy has the better selection if you're into like some real weird novelty prints. In general, I think vintage tends to be a little easier to find 100% cotton, which is what Pink House uses, and it has a nicer drape than the poly mixes. Aria also suggested shabbyfabrics.com, which that is a great suggestion if you love a good shabby chic floral. And yeah, I think, and we also have another suggestion of if you have older family members that like to sew, ask to see their stash. This is what I did on eBay. Somebody was selling her mom's stash and like she had a ton of fabric. And I was like, hey, I want to save on shipping. Do you have anything else? And she was like, oh yeah, I've got like 20 yards of this boat fabric you want. So it's an easy way to kind of load up on stuff. So yeah, I think we're slightly over time. Sorry, Purvi. But thanks so much for tuning in. Please be sure to tune into the next panel, which is going to be a Good Lolita DIY with Kaiser, who is incredible and who we love. We highly recommend it.
Yes, accessories look so cute.
Yes. So, and otherwise, thanks for tuning in. We'll post the slides to the Discord and the Facebook. And if you have any questions or concerns for us, you can feel free to reach out on Instagram or Twitter, or just like yell at us and hope we hear it. But thanks, guys.
Thank you.